Hello and welcome to Candy Floss Crochet. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful flower. I'm not sure whether it's a daisy or more of a sunflower look, but it's quite a pretty one. It's not my pattern. I took the pattern from Cute Crochet Makes with the Unicorn Dream blanket. It's not even her pattern, I think it was somebody else's, but the website where the pattern was published is since closed down, so I can't tag in the actual designer of it, but it's quite a simple flower to do but very effective. If you want to put it on a granny square as I've done here, just work up a normal granny square, 6 rows deep, and then do 2 border edges of half treble crochets around it if you wanted to do a granny square, but it's not compulsory to do that, but you might just want to do the flower and attach it to a blanket of your choice. It's quite straightforward. You'll need 2 yarns. So in this one I use Stylecraft Special DK in white and lemon, but you can choose any DK that you want to use, anything that you have lying around. And as I said, it's a very simple pattern once you get your head around it. So we'll work through the flower part on its own together. So you will need, to get started, a 4mm crochet hook, a darning needle for your ends, your scissors. You may need a stitch marker, it depends how you work, and your yarn. So for this tutorial I'm using Stylecraft Special DK, and I think this is in Zing, I think it's called, and this one here is in Stylecraft Special DK and it's in copper. So let's get started. We're going to make the center pattern first, which is effectively just this ring here. So I've done a little sample so you can see what the finished article will look like, because once you start adding the petals on you won't be able to see what it is. So go ahead and get started. Now I want you to do a magic ring. Now it's up to you how you do it. Some people chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain that they created, and that forms their circle. I do a magic circle, so I'll just show you how I do it, but it's entirely up to you. Put my yarn over my hand and I grip it here, wrap it round so the yarn crosses over the back, and then I hold it, pinch it under my thumb. Take my hook, slide it between my fingers and grab the yarn at the back, pull through and twist it up. So now your hook is facing towards your tips of your fingers, and then pinch, grab that yarn that's at the back and pull it through. So slip stitch over, and that is your magic ring. If you want to see that again, pause now, rewind and do that one again. I always pull the tail a little bit so that it's easier to work with. And what I want you to do now is do a chain 3 and then work 16 UK trebles into your circle. Okay, so the UK treble in America, that's a US double crochet. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's your first one done. And I want you to do 16 treble crochets into your circle. So I'll just do one with you again. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. And I want you to carry on working through until you have 16. So if you want to pause the video here and join me back when you have your circle created of 16 treble crochets. Okay, so you should now have 16 treble crochets in your magic circle. As you can see, the hole in the middle of mine is still quite big at the moment. I can pull that in just to tighten it off. Just so you know, when you're counting your stitches back, always count your V's at the top. So count here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and so on round until you get to 16. You're not counting your turning chain. That one doesn't count. So you need 16 stitches. So check your number. It's very important you get the number right. If you get the number wrong, then when you go on to the next one, it won't be evenly spread out. So as you can see, we've just done this center bit here at the moment. So your next step is to join your circle together. I'm just going to pull mine in a little bit tighter, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that first stitch. So insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on the hook. So that's my 16 now. Okay, so the next step is to chain 3, and then I want you to work a treble into that same space. So you're going right back in there. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so that's our first one. Now chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want you to skip the next stitch and then work 2 trebles into the next one. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, back in and do another one in the same stitch. And what we're doing is creating the post as you go around. So we chain 4, skip a stitch into the next one. You're going to work 2 UK trebles, and you're going to repeat this. Oh, hang on, I lost my stitch. Let's do that again. Skip one into the next one. You're going to repeat this all the way around until you have 16 posts, and count your chain on this one. So as you can see here, I've got 16 posts. So pause the video, work all the way around, chaining 4, skipping a stitch, and then putting 2 trebles into the next stitch. Chain 4, skip a stitch, 2 trebles in the next one. Work all the way around, and I'll join you again when we join this round together. Okay, so you should now have finished your circle, and in your last stitch you're doing your 2 trebles, chaining 4, and I just need you to slip stitch to the top of the first chain 3 that you did. So just slip stitch into there, and make sure you don't forget that chain 4 is the last one. So going around, you should have 16 posts with a chain 4 between each one. So at this point now we can start to look at joining our next colour to form the actual petals. Okay, so now we're going to join our second colour. I'm going to use this Stylecraft Specialty K in copper. Just talking about ends, your central end, leave that one on at the moment. You may wish to sew it onto something when you decide what you're going to do with it, whether that's a granny square or onto a blanket. So I would leave that end in place because that's handy to sew in. And this end at the moment I'm just leaving there because again it gives you something else to anchor it down with regarding sewing onto something. So we now need to join our other yarn. So if you get your other yarn in play, and I'm just going to explain how the posts work on here. So each post, this is your first post, this is your second, first, second as you go around. So this is the second post. So we're going to start work on the second post. So when you do a post stitch, you're going behind that treble, not into the top in the V. You go in behind here. So our first stitch will be behind the second post out. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but as long as you say that's number 1, that's number 2, the second one will be behind that second post there. So that's the one that you need to be looking at here. And we're just going to join our yarn. So this bit is a little bit fiddly, but once you've joined it, believe me, it gets easier as we go through. So I'm just going to take my hook behind that post. I'm going to get my new yarn and just form a loop and pull that through. Then I'm going to hold my tail just to keep it secure. So I'm holding it in place, and I'm going to chain 1 and then do another 2. So you're starting off with a chain 3 on this one. And then what I want you to do is work 3 trebles into this post. So yarn over, and you're going behind the whole stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you want to do 3. So you'll have your chain 3 plus 3 trebles all on this post. As I said, it does look a little bit fiddly. So you've got your 3 all around that first post. Okay, so your next step, you're going to turn your work upside down, and you're going to work into your first post. Okay, so turn your flower around and this is your first post. So if you remember when we were looking at it, we said first post, second post, first post, second post. So we're going to work this one now, but in order to work it, you're going to have to turn your work all the way around and then work 4 trebles behind that post. So it's 1, 2, 3, is a little bit fiddly, and 4. And what this is doing is creating that lovely spiral effect. So you've got like a little curve now, and you're back up to the top. So you're back the right way round. Okay. Then around your chain, let me get my end right to the back. Your next stitch is going to be into this chain space here. Okay. So it's the chain to the left of your work, not to the right. Don't go backwards. You're going to go working around here now. So into that chain 4 space, you need to make 4 trebles. So back it right into this hole here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's anchored. That curl comes all the way around now and up. Now we have to do what's called a Picot Stitch. I think it's pronounced Picot. So Picot Stitch, ever so straightforward, but it just adds, let me get my original one back. 1 second. So what you're doing now, you've done this curl, go all the way around. You've done 4 trebles here, and you now need to create this little point on the flower just to give it that edge. So that's where we're at. So Picot Stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're slip stitching into your very first chain. So insert your hook, pull through and pull through, and that creates a point. And now back down into your chain 4 space, do another 4 trebles. 1, 2, and my last one, 4. Okay, so now when you lie your work flat, get my ends out the way, you can see we've got the start curl of a petal going up to the point. Okay, so that's your very first petal done. As you guessed it, we're going to go around and do that 8 more times. So I'll do another one with you. So we're going from here, you've done your picot, you've done your 4, okay, and now you're going to repeat around again. So you're going into the second post, into your second post here, and you're going to do 4 trebles. So not the first one, because you're going to do that one upside down. You're going into the second one, and you're working 4 trebles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now you're going to turn your work upside down, and you're going to locate that first post, the one you haven't worked. So that's this one here. I hope that's quite clear. I hope you can see that. And you're going to do 4 trebles into that one. As I said, a little bit fiddly, but once you get your first one in, it's quite easy then to find your next one. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and turn your work around. So now you're forming a twist, and find your chain 4 space on the left of your twist. So you're back upright, but you're working round your circle. And we're doing 4 trebles in here, a picot and 4 trebles. So let's do the 4 trebles first. 2, 3, and 4. And then when you get there, you chain in 3 to do your picot. So 1, 2, 3, and slip stitching into that very first chain, which forms your lovely little point. and then 4 more trebles back into that chain 4 space. 2, 3 and 4, and that's completed your second petal. So you can see now it's starting, the petals are starting to go, and when we anchor this one back down, it will bring the twist over. So we're working into the next stitch. We'll go into not our first post, into our second post. We're going to work 4 trebles into that one, twist it round upside down, and then work 4 trebles into the first post, then working back into our chain 4 space. So I'm going to do another one with you because it's a little bit fiddly, but once you get the hang of it. So you're going into not your first post, your second post, and working 4 trebles behind that one. That's 1, 2, 3, and here's your 4th one. So the last one into that second post, 4th. Now twist your work upside down and find that post that you haven't worked yet, and you're working 4 trebles into that one. So that's 1. Sorry, my yarn's tangled. Let's give it a good tug. There we go. Where was I? So I've done 1. And it gets a little bit more fiddly as you go around because everything seems to be in the way. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then turn your work right way up, which forms that lovely little spiral. Identify your chain 4 space next to it, and you guessed it, 4 trebles into that one, 2, 3 and 4. Now your picot, so chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, slip stitch into that very first chain, and let's anchor that back down with another 4 trebles. 1, 4. There you go. So we've now completed 3 of our petals. We've got 3 little points. This one's just coming along, and as you can see now, you work all the way along. So keep going through. So your next stitch will be into your 4 trebles into the second post. So this is post number 1 if you're going around this way, and this is your second post. So you do 4 trebles, twist your work upside down, and then work 4 trebles into the first post, which is here. Sorry, my end's in the way, so it's not very clear. So 4 trebles behind the first post, then your work is twisting around again, which forms this beautiful loop that you've created here. When you've twisted it round again, you're then going to work your petal, which is 4 trebles, a picot stitch and 4 trebles before moving on to the second post of the next round. So complete those all the way through, and then I'll meet you back at the end and I'll show you how to join your final petal together. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around your work, and you should have 8 separate petals all the way around, with your last petal with your 4 trebles and your last treble. So I'm just going to show you how to finish off the flower itself. You just need to do a slip stitch, but you need to do a slip stitch to anchor it down to the bottom. So you need to turn your work on the side, and what you're looking for is that double crochet that's underneath, which will be down here. So this stitch here in your center color, and you just need to slip stitch your last one into that stitch down there. If I can get my hook into it. Been pulled tight. There he is. Pull through, And now you can snip off, leave a nice long end because you'll want to be able to sew it on to wherever you're going to put it and pull through. And that is your work completed. So you have now created a flower. Hope you like this pattern, it's quite a cute one. If you wanted to put it onto a granny square, so I've worked a granny square here. So as you can see, I've worked up 6 rows. So if you're going from the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, and that's a seamless granny square. Now it's not quite big enough when we put ours. It's fine, but I want to put a border around it just to tidy off the edges. If you did want to do that, the seamless granny square pattern is on my subscription for YouTube. I'll put a link in the bottom in the description box so you can go in and do this one, but I'm just going to show you how to add a border if you wanted to carry on with this one. So I've got to the end of my row of chain 2 to make my last corner. I'm going to slip stitch in there, and then I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to slip stitch back into that center corner, and I'm going to chain 1. Now what I want to do is add a nice flat border all the way around. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets in the corner, and then between the double crochets I'm going to do a chain 2 and 2 double crochets again to create my nice corner. And then what I want you to do is work a double crochet into each of your stitches. So this is my, let's turn it on an angle so you can see my V's. This is my first V here and along here. So work a double crochet all the way along, and in each corner space you do 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets. So just to show you a double crochet again, so insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and you're working the top V's all the way along, and this will give it a nice flat edge all the way along until you get to the corner. And you should have 22 stitches on each corner. So in between the chain 2 space here and the chain 2 space at this end, you should have 22 stitches on all your edges all the way around. So if you want to pause the video here and work all the way around until you get to your starting corner, and then join me again then, and I'll show you the very last border that I'm going to put on this one. Okay, so you should have worked your double crochet all the way around and you've got back to your corner. Just slip stitch into that first stitch. Nope, can't get it. That joins that one. At this point you could leave it if you wanted to, but I'm going to put another row around it, and this time I'm going to use half trebles. So I'm just going to slip stitch in the next stitch just to get me to that corner. I'm not going to turn my work at this stage. Slip stitch into my corner, and then I'm going to work a half treble, 2 half trebles, chain 2, 2 half trebles in each corner. So to do a half treble, yarn over, insert your hook into that chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. I'm going to do another one of those. So insert, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 2 because I'm in a corner, and then I'm going to do 2 more half trebles, into that one, and then I'm going to work a half treble into the tops of every double crochet I did on the previous round. So yarn over, insert, pull through all 3, yarn over, insert, pull through all 3, and I want you to work each stitch all the way around, and then I will meet you back at the finishing corner for the very last finish of this round. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around your border, doing a half treble crochet in every stitch until you get to the corners. Then it's 2 halves, chain 2 and 2 halves, and I've just got to my very last one, and all you need to do is slip stitch into your first stitch, snip off your yarn, and pull through and weave in your ends. So that's your granny square with a border, which you don't have to do if you don't want to, but I think it frames our flower quite nicely, and you could use that and make maybe some plain granny squares to go with it and join them all together and have flowers on every one if you wanted, or every couple. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you again soon.